When it comes to the Zelda series, there are many that try to emulate that success, either through using aspects of the games and implementing them into their own way, or straight up trying to recreate them in a different skin. This is where you would look for me to point out the negative in this, but I'm actually going to look for the best of these games. Sometimes we have to appreciate what Zelda has done for the gaming world and look for those that took the inspiration and made it into their own version. So with that being said, this is my top 10 Zelda copycats. Ittle Dew and Ittle Dew 2 are indie action-adventure games that wear the Zelda inspiration proudly, especially the classic top-down entries like A Link to the Past. You play as Ittle, a sarcastic treasure hunter exploring colourful islands packed with puzzles, hidden secrets, dungeons, and quirky characters. The games focus heavily on exploration and item-based puzzle solving, just like the classic Zelda titles. Instead of simply fighting enemies, you're constantly using tools like bombs, fire swords, and magical items to unlock paths, solve elemental puzzles, and discover shortcuts. What makes the series stand out is its humour and freedom. Unlike many Zelda games, you can often tackle dungeons in a different order and even break puzzles using creative solutions. The combat feels fast and simple, but the real focus is the clever dungeon design and the satisfying sense of discovery. If you enjoy the exploration, puzzles, secrets, and dungeon progression of a classic Zelda, Ittle Dew feels like a modern indie love letter to that formula, with a lot more comedy and chaos mixed in. The biggest similarity is how these games constantly teach you how to go through each dungeon mechanic, exactly like the old school Zelda games. Sparklite is a top-down action-adventure game that mixes classic Zelda-style exploration with roguelike mechanics. Set in a colourful world powered by a mysterious energy called the Sparklite, you play as Ada, an inventor exploring dangerous regions, fighting monsters, solving puzzles, and uncovering ancient technology. The reason it feels so similar to Zelda games, especially the classics like A Link to the Past and Minish Cap, is because it heavily focuses on dungeon crawling, gadget-based progression, exploration, and environmental puzzles. You unlock tools and abilities that help you access new areas, defeat bosses, and discover secrets hidden across the map. The combat is very simple and satisfying, with a strong emphasis on timing, movement, and learning enemy patterns. What makes Sparklite different is the road-like structure. The world changes every time you play, meaning dungeon layout, enemies, and rewards constantly shift. So while it captures the charm and the gameplay loop of a classic Zelda, it adds a replayability and randomness that makes each run feel fresh. It's basically a blend of the traditional Zelda exploration and modern roguelike progression systems. Castaway is a short indie game inspired heavily by the classic top-down Zelda titles. You play as a stranded traveller exploring mysterious islands, fighting monsters, uncovering secrets, and working through a compact dungeon-like areas to rescue your lost companion. The game feels very similar to the older Zelda games like A Link's Awakening because of its simple but satisfying gameplay loop. Explore a new area, solve the puzzles, battle some enemies, and gradually unlock tools and abilities that open more of the world. It uses a charming pixel art style, and it keeps the focus on the tight dungeon design, hidden secrets, and rewarding exploration rather than massive open world systems. What really gives it that Zelda feel is the pacing and the structure. The combat is easy to pick up, the world is interconnected, and progression is tied to discovering items and overcoming environmental obstacles. Even though it's much shorter and simpler, Castaway captures some of that cozy sense of adventure and discovery that makes older Zelda games feel so memorable. This might be the most openly Zelda-inspired game ever made. Oceanhorn 2, The Knights of the Lost Realm, is an action-adventure game that feels heavily inspired by the 3D Zelda titles, especially the Ocarina of Time and the Breath of the Wild. You play as a young knight exploring kingdoms, ancient ruins, forests, and dungeons while uncovering mysteries behind the glowing dark threat. The game shares most of its core elements that make Zelda games so beloved. Sword combat, puzzle-filled dungeons, item-based progression, exploration, and big cinematic boss fights. You solve environmental puzzles, use gadgets and abilities to unlock new areas, and travel across a large overworld packed with secrets and side content. The art style, music, and overall sense of adventure are all designed to capture that classic Zelda feeling. What makes Oceanhorn stand out is how closely it recreates the structure of a modern 3D Zelda game while still adding its own RPG elements and companion system. It may not reach the same depths of the Nintendo games, but obviously delivers that familiar mix of exploration, discovery, combat, and dungeon solving that Zelda fans love. Number 6. This game leans into the exploration side of Zelda. Misplaced is a indie action-adventure game that takes huge inspiration from the classic Zelda titles. especially Link's Awakening and A Link to the Past. It's a top-down adventure where you explore the interconnected biomes, solve puzzles, battle enemies, and uncover secrets across a fantasy world. The reason people compare it so heavily to Zelda is because that almost every part of its design captures a classic Nintendo formula: art-based health, grass cutting, dungeon-style exploration, item progression, environmental puzzles, and a strong focus on discovery. The world is built around unlocking new abilities and revisiting areas to uncover hidden paths and treasures, just like the older Zelda game. What helps My Place stand out is its chemistry system, which lets you interact with the environment in creative ways to solve puzzles or fight enemies. It also includes a hidden karma system and more modern exploration mechanics layered on top of the traditional Zelda-style gameplay. Overall, it feels like a modern indie tribute to a classic top-down Zelda adventure, blending nostalgia with more experimental systems. Blossom Tales and Blossom Tales 2 are indie action adventure games that are basically love letter to classic top-down Zelda titles, especially A Link to the Past. You play as Lily, a young knight exploring the fantasy world filled with dungeons, puzzles, secret monsters, and powerful bosses while trying to save the kingdom from an evil threat. The game feels incredibly similar to classic Zelda because they follow the exact same formula. Again, exploring interconnected worlds, unlocking new items and abilities, solving environmental puzzles, and conquering themed dungeons. Combat is simple and fast-paced with swords, bombs, bows, and special tools, while progression constantly rewards exploration and discovery. Most people describe the series as a direct homage to A Link to the Past because of how closely it captures that era of Zelda. What helps Blossom Tales stand out is the storytelling style and humour. The adventure is framed around a grandfather telling a story to his grandchildren, who interrupt him and change parts of the tale as it unfolds. It gives the game a more playful personality while still delivering that cozy, nostalgic Zelda-style adventure. Overall, if someone wants a modern indie game that recreates that classic 2D Zelda formula almost perfectly, Blossom Tales is one of the closest examples there are. Ōkami is an adventure action game often considered one of the closest experiences to 3D Zelda games outside of Nintendo itself. You play as Amaterasu, a Japanese sun goddess who takes the form of a white wolf, traveling across a beautiful world inspired by Japanese mythology and restore nature and defeat ancient evil. The reason it's constantly compared to Zelda, especially Ocarina of Time and Twilight Princess, is because it follows that same structure of exploration, puzzle solving, dungeon progression, and cinematic boss battles. You explore towns, fields, forests, and temples while unlocking new abilities that help you access previously blocked areas and solve increasingly complex puzzles. What makes Ōkami unique is its celestial brush system, which lets you literally draw on the screen and interact with the world, creating wind, cutting objects, restoring plants, and even solving puzzles in creative ways. Combining this with its stunning watercolor art style, emotional story, and epic adventure feel, the game captures the same sense of discovery and progression that makes Zelda games so special while still feeling completely original. Now I'm going to go a bit off script with this one because this one is a personal favourite of mine. It's actually my favourite, but I couldn't put it at number one for a few reasons. But I will go through what I'd normally write down and then I'll give you a little ad-lib afterwards. Star Fox Adventures is a GameCube action adventure game that surprises a lot of people because it plays far more like a Zelda game than a traditional Star Fox game. Instead of focus mainly on space combat, you control Fox McCloud, exploring the planet's arena on foot, solving puzzles, fighting enemies with a staff, and completing dungeon-style areas. The game is heavily compared to A Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time because of its structure and gameplay. You travel through interconnected regions, collect upgrades and magical abilities, solve environmental puzzles, and tackle temples that function almost exactly like Zelda dungeons. Even the lock-on combat, item usage, and exploration feels very similar to the classic 3D Zelda. What makes Star Fox Adventures unique is its mix of sci-fi and fantasy. While it has dinosaurs, ancient temples, and mystical powers like Zelda game, it still includes Star Fox characters, technology, and occasionally spaceship sections. The result is a game that feels like a strange but memorable crossover between Star Fox and Zelda, and for many people, it remains one of the closest non-Zelda experiences to Nintendo's classic 3D adventure formula. A lot of people joke that this is secretly a lost Zelda game, and that's the same for me. When I play it, I feel like I'm playing a Zelda game, but Star Fox is in there. Now, I'm not a massive Star Fox fan, I didn't really play those games very much, but when I played this, and I was very young when I did this, it was phenomenal to play, and I generally thought I was just playing a Zelda game with Star Fox in it. It was phenomenal. Immortals Phoenix Rising is an open world game inspired heavily by modern Zelda titles, especially Breath of the Wild. Set in a world based on Greek mythology, you play as Phoenix, a warrior trying to save the gods from a powerful curse by exploring massive regions, solving puzzles and battling legendary monsters. The similarities to Zelda are obvious in the game's structure and its mechanics. You can climb almost anything, glide across huge landscapes, solve physics-based shrine puzzles, discover hidden secrets, and use a stamina system for exploration and combat. All these features that strongly resemble Breath of the Wild. The world constantly rewards curiosity, whether you're finding upgrades, completing vault, or uncovering optional challenges scattered across the map. What helps Phoenix Rising stand out is its more fast-paced combat and comedic tone. The game leans heavily into Greek mythology with gods, monsters, and narration that gives an adventure a lighter, more humorous personality. While it clearly takes inspiration from Zelda's open-world design, it adds a more deeper RPG progression, flashy abilities, and larger combat areas to create its own style of mythological adventure. Its inspiration is extremely obvious, but it still manages to feel fun and unique with its Greek mythology. Tunic is at the top of my list. It is an isometric adventure game where you play as a small fox exploring a mysterious world filled with ancient ruins, hidden secrets, difficult enemies, and cryptic puzzles. At first glance, it looks like a cute indie adventure, but underneath it's a deeply layered game built around discovery, exploration, and figuring things out for yourself. The reason it's constantly compared to the classic Zelda games, especially Legend of Zelda and Link's Awakening, is because it captures the same feeling of mystery and adventure. You explore interconnected areas, unlock tools and abilities, and open new paths, fight challenging enemies, and slowly piece together how the world works through exploration rather than constant guidance. The overworld design, dungeon structure, and hidden shortcuts and item progression all feel heavily inspired by the classic Zelda. What makes Tunic unique is its manual and puzzle design. Throughout the game, you collect pages in an in-game instruction booklet written in a mysterious language. As part of the experience is decoding the mechanics and the secrets to yourself. It combines Zelda-style exploration with a more challenging combat inspired by Souls-like games, creating a rewarding sense of discovery that feels both nostalgic and completely fresh. This game captures that feeling of discovery better than almost any modern game, which is why so many people call it the ultimate Zelda-like. And there we have it, my top 10. With all these games, they are all heavily inspired by Legend of Zelda, but that's not always a bad thing. They take what we love and make it into their own in some shape or form. And for me, I don't always think that's a bad thing. Anyway, thank you for watching. Please like and subscribe if you loved the video, and I'll see you in the next one. Rusty out.